Muhammad Mukhtar, Vice Chancellor of National University, Islamabad. It's a really great day for us that we have with us Professor Doctor of Science, Dr. Habil Klaus Oestreicher. I hope I did good job. Okay. So he is Vice President International with the private Swiss University, EHE Europa Hochschule in Switzerland. So Professor held several academic senior positions with universities in France and the UK, and was visiting professor with universities in Asia, Africa, and Europe. His internationally acknowledged research is in the field of radical innovation and strategies. It has been published by numerous European and US academic journals and in several books. As professor and keynote speaker, Professor Oestreicher has received numerous awards, such as an honorary professorship of the Tbilisi Teaching University, Gurgasali. To these further counts the fellowship with the British Higher Education Academy, Chartered Marketer and Fellow with the Institute of Sales and Marketing Management, or as member and accredited practitioner with the Chartered Institute of Public Relations. So I hope my colleague Murza, you are here. Murza Noor. Okay.
Doctor, can you hear me?
Yes,
yeah.
I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you. Murza Noor is the coordinator for our organization that Prof and I are running together. That is a Gala Global Academic Leader Academy. And Professor Oestreicher is one of the founding members of this organization. And today we are going to discuss with him his idea of, I think I will leave it to him. So it's the floor is all for you, sir, and it's your idea what that is. Just bring it to us.
So good morning, good afternoon, and for some perhaps even already good evening. It is a great pleasure for me to be with you, and yeah, already in the middle of the topic itself, that we cannot meet each other in person. We are now in a virtual discussion, as so many are taking place today. This COVID-19 crisis has led all of us into a new situation, which is in its origins not so new as we might perhaps expect it, but it is challenging in any way we can understand what is going on. Some 8 years ago, I was a member of the French think tank Serros in Paris, and we were sitting together with colleagues from various French universities and were discussing what is going on about the new landscape for universities in the future. We all know there is the situation of distance learning and various forms on how to do it, various ideas and concepts. What we in Paris concluded is that we are facing a very different future of higher education. Whether we like it or dislike it will unfortunately not make much of a difference to us, because it will simply happen. The idea which was highly emphasized at this meeting in Paris was that we must say goodbye to much of our known physical structures, that students will not sit any longer on their banks and listen to us in person. Then the next situation which we will have to expect is that a professorship, for example, as we all know it, in form of employment, will cease as well to disappear. Many academics, and this has already started in the last weeks and months in the United States, will be service providers. That means as an academic, you will simply sell your service to various universities, which has, of course, its advantages and disadvantages. The situation will be no more salary, fixed salary, and there will be the uncertainty on both sides, meaning, does a university get one of these good experts? Can they pay him? Or is it just, again, the big ones who are in advantage because they have the money to hire the very best which are in the world? But that is what it is. Even earlier, 3 years earlier, I had written a paper which was presented at, interestingly, in the University of Cambridge, and then again at the ESCP Business School in Paris, about the future of higher education in form of an avatar-based university. My very good but deceased friend, Tony Dyson, the name will not tell you much, but just as a side note, he was the creator of Star Wars R2-D2, and later became a very acknowledged researcher in robotics and avatar technology, and especially in learning. The paper at this time as well emphasized that the virtual new world will change our university landscape radically. That is the one side of the situation. Can we go, just stop please and go back? Thank you. The situation which we face in this moment is that we are all fixed to what Christensen and his other authors have explained in their resources, processes, and values theory. We have developed our resources, which are academics, which is our physical infrastructure, our IT infrastructures, and these resources are what we can control. We can work with these resources in the way we like it. And based on these resources, we all have, whether in the higher education industry or any other industry, we have developed established processes which we deliver day by day and which we are used to and which make us, due to the routine which we have developed, comfortable. And based on both of them, resources and processes, an organization has created their values. These are the responsible decision-making criteria for explaining what our organization is, who we ourselves are, and in addition, it is as well what a team, a staff is believing in. And as good as this is, it is, as always, not alone an advantage. It also has its disadvantages. As you can see on the next slide, we are now having the emergent disruption. And there we come to the, can we have the next slide, please? Thank you. And here we have a very interesting explanation. Incumbent organizations are very much in favor of sustainable, meaning marginal innovation, because as explained in this, on the slide before, we have the situation of existing resources, processes, and as well values. It is easy to deal with all marginal improvements, whether we have faster infrastructure in IT, or whether we have the opportunity to present our lectures in a lecture theater later as a recorded version online. This is easy to do. When we are going into the situation that we are getting a disruptive environment and context, then we have within our established processes and values a real and serious problem, because we are not used to, not familiar, and often enough not comfortable to deal with something which is extremely different. And that has not only its roots in the last time. Atterbeck, for example, has researched many industries, from the old icebreakers on the rivers to the days when the refrigerator came, and further industries where exactly it is explained, like we had the typewriters which failed in the times of the new word processing computer programs, or the photography and then the digital photography. That is something where we have a big problem. What we face now is one situation which is absolutely difficult for all of us, and it is a little bit different. Typically, we have an established industry of which kind ever, and then there is somebody who invents a radical innovation, and then this radical innovation starts to make its inroads and changes the face of the industry. This time, it is more the opposite. COVID-19 has presented us with a situation where there is first the disruption, and we are not ready with something to reply to this challenge. We have not yet a real radical innovation which can shape our future. What we know is that in the moment, at least, and as it looks for a quite long time, our students will not be able to come back to our lecture theaters. And if they come back, they will not be able to sit together as they could do before. So we have social distancing. And Hawkes, who is a very famous future researcher, has very nicely written this, that we are now in the time of a bifurcation, the deep crisis where our world is changing forever. And it is not that we are facing an interruption, we are facing a deep disruption. And that is one thing which many politicians especially at least say that they don't believe in. But we all see the big differences. If you look at the airports, or if you look at planes, if you look in restaurants, it's all changing, it's all shifting, and that makes the situation very difficult. And that was the starting point for our university to consider, what do we do? Do we simply make what certainly many had to do, put our lectures and our slides online and leave it to the students to deal with it, to read them many times, or give them a short period of time where we are available, or asking us the question, is this really enough? And we came to the conclusion that it will not be enough. It will just help to overcome the present short-term situation, but it will not be enough for the long term. And this is, if we may have the next slide, please. This is where we are starting to think about, no, that was one too much. One back, please. Yep, thank you. We have two ways. We are definitely having a high level of uncertainty because nobody can predict how long COVID-19 will last. We cannot predict whether there will be a second wave, which many are fearing. And we do not know how our students will react to the whole development with reference to the entire context. We have the situation of international students. How many students are traveling the world? The last figure was, I have in mind, over 5 million students worldwide are studying in a different country. But just think about how many of these students were stranded in the country without the opportunity to leave the country because there were no flights. Of course, this influences the next generation of students who are now thinking, if I go to another country, even on another continent, I may be stuck there and I do not know for how long. That is a big risk and makes many students very reluctant to consider studies in a different country. So that is something where we have really to consider these crisis signals which are coming. And here we have the two options, which is the alleged strategy that is simply setting us a goal and see how we can achieve this goal. And the situation then is making a very methodical action for each of its steps to implement them. But that means that somehow you must have a context in which you have not too many variables, where you can rely on something. And as we feel, at least, is there is not enough on which we can rely. So this situation is more about going with the developments, which is called by Christensen and co-authors the emerging or emergent strategy. We need to maintain the flexibility to see, will there be a second COVID wave? Will it not be? Will there be a changed attitude in students' behavior, or what will happen? And therefore, we must try to have a strategy for our future as a university, which is flexible, which allows us to adapt fast to the new developments, to the new challenges which might emerge or not. And we must carefully listen to the marketplace, meaning our students, our recruitment area, for that we can really learn what do these students adapt to and how will they translate it into the expectations on their studies. And for this, we have created an own research group, which consists of researchers from Italy, from Germany. I am part of it, and yesterday I have received the request from Malaysia, from our good colleagues from University Malaysia Kelantan, who want to join as well. And we are very happy about this because we are not the masters of wisdom. The more information we can receive, the better it will be to identify the market signals, to identify the future expectations, and then to go into a new way and develop and discover a new way which might be successful for the future higher education. If we can then have, please, the next slide. The challenging context which exists for us is that, of course, we have what exists. We have what we have, our resources, our processes, our values. And as so many complaints over the many years I have now served in higher education, students talked to me about is the lecturers used to physical studies by PowerPoint. So the lecturers as well are very familiar with the situation of presenting their knowledge transfer in form of PowerPoint, which is certainly one way, which is certainly no bad way, but it is different to what will be possible when we have no students in front of us. And then, of course, is the other side of the business, which are the students. The students like our buildings, at least some. They like to go in some seminars. They like to meet with others and work in a group on certain assessments or tasks which we give them. That is what we have. The problem is that as it unfolds in these days, that might not be possible to continue in the future. And then we have, based on this, a triple lock. Let us be honest, since centuries, our delivery of higher education has not changed. When you go centuries back, there were the students, there were the lecturers, the ones who wanted to learn, the others who gave the opportunity to learn, and they met in a physical building and they were sitting together. The lecturer told, the students listened. Of course, this has been amended, this has been renewed. We have now electronic data, we have PowerPoint and all these things which had not existed before. But all of this is nothing more than a marginal adaptation based on technological advancements. The principal structure has not really changed. And we have, in many countries, regulations which are not fit for purpose. If I take, for example, our new Swiss higher education law, HFKG called, which is coming into effect on the 1st of January 2023, then you have more or less absolutely nothing in it which speaks about distance learning, about transnational studies, about the situation of electronic delivery. It is simply based on this old-fashioned way of delivery. Old-fashioned does not mean that it is a bad way, but a future development is not possible. So there is just in Switzerland, and this is not the only country where it is so, Germany is as well very, very similar, Austria as well, where you do not favor a new and different way. And there we come back to the resources, processes, and values theory, because that is what they know. That is what they have always understood. And that is what many, especially bureaucrats, refuse to change because it makes them feel uncomfortable. An assessor in an accreditation process who is confronted with a new way of, let me say, virtual reality, augmented reality, and even worse with artificial intelligence, he feels uncomfortable because he doesn't know how this thing works, what it does, will it deliver the knowledge? And there we have this triple lock, which is opposing a real radical development into a future higher education landscape. What we as well have and know, everybody who has worked in distance learning will certainly have realized that the dropout rates of students are much higher than with physical studies. Have we ever really investigated why it is so? Have we ever tried to understand what is so less engaging in distance learning as it is in physical presence learning, which is not allowing to learn in your own speed? And as well, just the other days, I have received from students, from other universities, the complaint, the simplistic translation offline to online. Yes, in this present crisis, to deliver at least something, it was important to online present offline teaching content, but that cannot continue forever. And the simplistic translation offline to online simply is not enough. It is not about that we can already, after the short time of our research, confirm possible to engage and interest students by simply giving them somehow form of online PowerPoint presentations, or the old-fashioned way. Here you have a distance learning book, here are 150 pages, read through them and be happy. The point is, Prensky at the beginning of the online world has differentiated between the digital natives and those who were born before digital came. I am one, and most of us probably in this audience are, people who have started their lives, their professions at times where computers did not play a role. But that has changed. Today, those who are digital natives are not anymore just simple digital natives. They are far beyond the situation that they did not know and do not know a world without computer. So their expectations are much, much higher than those who were just born and educated in the times of the computer-based systems. So we are now in a very sophisticated environment, which we should not forget that it will influence what the expectations are. So if we can go to the next slide, please. Our conclusion was so far that is highly unlikely that we simply can change marginally. That would be nice, that would be easy, that would be fast, because we simply adapt a little bit here and a little bit there. We can use what we have, we can work as we used to work. This starts, for example, with assessments and with all the problems when we are having online virtual assessments. That is always with some risks, which we cannot exclude. But the whole context on all sides, which we have identified, especially in form of students, in form of the processes which we have and the resources which we have, are simply not allowing it. We will have to widely abandon all what we have, which starts with big buildings and big nice theaters and all these things. Then think a little bit different. Maybe the one or the other of you has already played online games, the multiple player online games. I admit I am playing every day some of the games, because as a strategist I am following the advice from Japan of the 15th century. If you do not practice strategy every day, it will be like you have never learned it. And interesting is what you can observe and learn in such an online game. You have adults, mainly adults in these games, who are engaging, who are doing things together, who are doing teamwork, and who are, of course, some are addicted, but I'm not speaking about it, who are having fun in doing these things online. They are coming online every day, several times as much as their time allows. They are interacting, they are exchanging ideas, they are influencing the course of the game. And there is the point where we have influenced by our researcher from Italy and from the National Italian Research Council, Dr. Carlo Fabricatore, added knowledge in serious gaming. It is not about gimmicks, it is not about shooting around, it is about developing an environment and delivery of content in which it becomes important to engage in a game-like process of delivery. And this way, it is not the distance learning in a university, which we at the EHE Eureka have in mind. It is the virtual university, which allows to replace the expected existing contexts students have in mind when they decide to study. Of course, one parameter cannot be changed. We must deliver the very same academic quality and scientific work. We must deliver knowledge which is simply justifying the award of an academic degree. We cannot fall behind the academic standards which we have and which we must deliver, because our world will not get easier, it will get even more complex. And as we probably can all see, due to the COVID-19 crisis, very much more complicated. So may I have the next slide, please? What we are facing is a radical shift. And here we have taken examples from research and seen what has happened. In the early 1990s, when the cheap airlines came up, the budget airlines, which allowed us to travel very cheaply, all the established airlines, how they were called, KLM, Air France, Lufthansa, and all of Europe, started to think, oh, what these new guys on the block can do, like Ryanair or EasyJet, we can copy easily. We know how the business runs and we are much better than them. We have all the experience, we have all the routine and tradition, we outperform them. Unfortunately, they all failed. The problem was they simply appointed a team and said, now you are playing budget airline. bring the prices down, deliver what is needed, and then we go and we'll drive all these newcomers from the market. It was the opposite. All the budget airlines of these established airlines went bankrupt until one of them decided, I kick the whole bunch of guys out. I give them a big shack at different premises, hundreds of miles or kilometers away, and then they are there together and play. And that was the point when the budget team became successful. So that means here we are back. What we have, what we know, what we value can, under such radical shifting forms of new developments, be more of disadvantage than of advantage. And that is what we have decided to do as well, because nearly everything has changed. We must replace the existing contexts. Our students will not be able to come to visit us from and study with us from other countries. Then we have to replace the boring and not engaging simplistic content delivery as it is presently often enough delivered. I was listening to students telling me of a big German university that they are absolutely appalled by the way how they are now presented with the content. Every professor has a different format. Every professor is delivering via a different channel. It is difficult to find these lectures, and when you eventually find them, they are totally boring. There are some buzzwords, there are some short sentences, and then you have to sit and find these in the books, and they are absolutely appalled by this way. On the other hand, let me please come back to the mobile socialization and interaction of the games. If you present this, which is our idea, in form of a serious game, which is team engaging, which is dependent on others, meaning that a student becomes member of a team here and another member of a team there, that they must deliver and fulfill an assessment, for example, in form of a task which only they can achieve together, then the chances of driving are much higher. Again, the question, why do adults engage in simplistic, sometimes or often enough stupid online games and have fun together, but we in higher education cannot really engage our students to get the same experience? Studies can be fun. It is not about joke fun, it is about serious fun. To really feel the achievement, the mutual achievement, and driving each other to an even better result. And here is where one of our main starting points is placed. May I have the next slide, please? So if we consider the bifurcative direction, then we have these effects on students. No physical and regular studies in times of social distancing, nobody knows how long. The preparedness of studying in a foreign country is definitely reduced, and we risk qualification gaps for students, especially in developing countries, which has effects on society and economy. And the new students will, those starting this year, will not have the same familiarization with our contexts. Of course, the need for our lecturers is to learn about the latest technologies. It will be different to distance themselves for not allowing students, many of the more old-fashioned lecturers, and I know a couple of them, even lovely people, but they are not used to critique from students. See YouTube videos, serious videos where some really good content is presented, and at the end the authors have a last session in which they simply refer to comments which they have received in form of, I have claimed in my in my video number 8 that this and this is the case, I have received the content, the comment that I am wrong, that in reality it is this way and that way. And I must admit this is correct, or here we have a way how this can be done as well. This we must start to adapt. And this way, augmented reality, virtual reality, and artificial intelligence will replace these PowerPoint. We definitely have to forget about PowerPoints online. Next slide, please. So we are approaching these technology-based solutions which start with enrollment, accompanying a student from enrollment to graduation with all the modules, with all the teaching, with the different forms which are made possible by high-end technology. There are now there is now available assessment software which allows controlled assessments in a certain time, avoiding to the same extent, in my understanding, academic misconduct as we could also do it physically. We need to replace our bricks and mortar structures by new, exciting online environments, which are engaging and not just simply, here is your starting page, here you can go to your own folders, off you go, and that's it. And we must involve students globally. We must involve them as individuals, and when we can form interdependent multicultural student teams who are forced to work together to achieve something, then we have an engaging environment and new context. And it is as well the direct lecturer-student influence. Not anymore, I know, you learn. It is about we both learn, we both share our knowledge. I will, as a lecturer, have some more knowledge, which I will transfer to you, but I'm open to discuss it with you in a way which was not so much in a lecture theater where you have 300 students in front of you. So, and therefore we have decided to start a complete new and separate university in a different country. And as I spoke about, we need a context where the regulatory and legal framework is more promising and more advantage. And that was a big, big challenge for us. Switzerland was definitely no option because we are bound to what Switzerland expects, which is the second best higher education system in the world as it is ranked. Yes, absolute outstanding knowledge is in Switzerland, but it is based on what exists and very little interfaces for future orientation. And the official accreditation processes are in the moment not fit for purpose. We are bound and fixed into, you must have so and so many full-time professors, you must have so and so many lecture rooms, you must have so and so many computer places. What do I do with 30, 50, 100 computer places when I have a lockdown? That's not possible. And we do not know how long we will have. And this means a new world is emerging after this disruptive impact. And we must change. And those controlling us must change as well. And therefore, radically innovative approaches will outperform the marginal adaptation once again, which gives us, who are not the Harvard, Yale, or Oxford universities or Sorbonne in Paris, a chance, a real chance, because they are much more bound to their resources, processes, and values than we are. And we do not want to be the organization which is asking themselves what has happened to them, or just sitting there and observe and try to find a point where it might be correct and justified to change. We want those to be anticipating what comes. We want to listen to the students. we want to learn from the students, and we have two researchers which do nothing else than checking with students what they want, and then try to make sense out of these things and try to find ways to translate these wants and expectations of students into the future delivery of our modules. Because, as said, the quality, the academic and scientific quality, cannot be less. And this leads us to the next slide, which is where we are having implemented this step-by-step process, which is making projections. Our research team tries to make a projection. This is what our present in observation leads us to. We cannot be sure that it will really be this way, but we continue to observe. And then on the basis of these assumptions, we try to identify, is it really true that it will be this way, or are there other ways which we must consider as well? So we must evaluate as well as what we have as data, but as well what is coming out, because this crisis is ongoing. We do not know what comes next. We do not know if, hopefully not, a second wave comes. And then we implement a plan to learn, to test whether the critical assumptions which we have made are reasonable through this entire research in form of technology, in form of possibilities through regulations, because we are not on our own. We must fulfill our legal compliance as everybody else. And when we are getting to a point where we can be rather serious and can be certain that it is the way, then we implement this strategy. And for this we have, and I'm very honest with you, we have, even as a private university, reserved a complete cohort of free studies. We will offer students the opportunity to completely study their degree free of cost in exchange for helping us to see how they feel about our ways, our suggestions, what they would like to change and how they would like to change. Because we cannot be sure what really will happen in 1, 2, or 3 years. All we can be rather sure is that it will be a very different world to that we have left in January to March 2020. And therefore, with reference to the last slide of my presentation today, it is about the question, can we change marginal, which would be ideal and comfortable, which would just be so easy, or must we change radically? Must we accept high level of uncertainty ourselves? Must we make many breaches of our ways, how we have delivered and how we have worked all these many years? And we believe, yes, if we want to deliver high performance in the future, then radical is the expected way, as much as we would like to have it simple and just adaptation. We do not believe in this future of marginal and simple adaptation. What I have presented now to you as my final concluding sentence is, it is not the wisdom of the wisdom. It is simply our belief, what we feel and how we think that the future will be different. There will be many other opportunities and many other ways, and we are the first ones being interested to learn about them. So thank you very much for this time which you have given to me. I hope it was a little bit of interest to you, and I'm now very happy to answer questions you might have.
Prof, this is quite interesting. I hope all my colleagues, they enjoyed your talk, and particularly what Switzerland is doing in this COVID-19 era. So what I will do, I will request our coordinator of this Global Academic Leader Academy, Murtaza Noor, to say a few words. And then I have several of my Vice Chancellor colleagues, as well as the people like who has been heading the entire higher education system of a province or the country. They will be definitely asking you some question. Murtaza, you want to say some words?
I'm very happy to answer all the questions.
Go ahead, Murtaza. Unmute yourself.
Thank you very much, sir. First of all, I am thankful to the Honorable Professor for sparing his precious time and very, very valuable and insightful lecture. And it was a very, you can say, based upon the best international practices. And on the behalf of the GALA and the Inter-University Consortium and the National Scale University as well, I am thankful to you, sir, for very, very, it was a very, very productive session. Although I have joined late due to the technical problems, connectivity issues always there. So thank you very much, sir, once again. And now it's over to the Professor Dr. Mukhtar, sir. And for effect, I would also appreciate him as well for effectively conducting the session and taking this initiative forward to the other parts of the country.
Now sir, we have Professor Nizamuddin Saab. He has been heading he was the Vice Chancellor, as well as he headed the education system of Punjab province, one of the largest province in the country. Dr. Saab, please.
Can you unmute me from your side?
Unmuting. Sir, we can hear you. You are unmuted.
Okay. First of all, thank you very much for organizing this very important webinar. And I really appreciated, a little bit worried about the professor's presentation of the radical future. My question was, he repeatedly said about second wave of COVID. The issue is whether second wave comes or not, we are going to live with COVID for years to come. What kind of system? We cannot completely make it online all the time for all over the world. What are the possibilities of continuing with COVID and at the same time having in-class sessions or physical sessions? Because he thinks we need to go all the way directly to the online systems or even not the current online system, but radical online system without PowerPoint, without developing game theory. Is it only for the Switzerland scenario, or does he think that this is going to be needed for the developing world as well?
Let me say we have very intensively reflected about the possibilities, because let me say the worst thing which we can face as human race in our understanding is a total social distancing. We have to be in contact. We need other humans in our environment. And what we hope, as it seems in this moment possible, that is that we have seminar-like meetings where students are coming for, let me say, 1-2 weeks in premises which are suited for such distance presence, meaning it is big enough to have social distancing. There are smaller classes around, and we have the opportunity to observe and respect all the means and measures which are in place by governments for very good reasons. We also hope very much that very soon there will be a vaccine available, but as we understand, it will not be for the next 12 to 18 months if we are lucky. So the worst case scenario for us remains a complete online virtual world. We want to have a reduced but still existing seminar presence in form of teaching blocks in premises which are big enough to host with regards to the requested guidelines which governments want to be respected.
Thank you.
My question is, the virtual world, we need it. This kind of changes, we need it. But we cannot be completely completely ignore the possibility that there have to be online, on-ground classes as well. When you talk about the new world after the COVID-19, we have gone through a world crisis in 1918 with millions of people died with the Spanish flu. But still we came back, survived, and now we are billions of people in the world. So I think there has to be some more positive, optimistic scenario, not just completely that we stop traveling, we stop going to the classes. That's not, in my opinion, going to be possible.
As I said, I hope that it will be so. But if you have read in the last 2 weeks, there is now the swine flu in China emerging, which fortunately so far is not transferring from the pigs to the humankind. And there are, as researchers have suggested, 2 million annual deaths by similar things like COVID-19, but they are much smaller. We simply are positive. We simply consider this as something more in a form that COVID-19 forces us into a world which had come anyway, just slower. If you consider, for example, when you speak about the developing world and other countries, consider a student. A student has to pay in many countries study fees. The student has to travel to this country, has to live in this country. Especially in Switzerland, this is most times for most of the people not affordable because it is so expensive that it is beyond reach. If you give these students the opportunity to study a good part online, then they can study for a degree which was otherwise unaffordable to them. And this shifting environment was already taking place. Our university has hundreds of students in countries like Nepal, Tanzania, and in Greece and wherever. And these students are studying in these countries and get our degree. They are in transnational form delivered our courses. Now the situation is that if you take
in Pakistan, there are hundreds of thousands of students doing this already.
Yeah,
they're studying like this already.
That is everywhere.
London. They're already studying because.
Thank you. Prof, next we have a lady from Canada. I think it's 3 a.m. in the morning. And she is awake and she is listening to you, Miss Farida. So Miss Farida, please.
Assalamu alaikum. It is now 7 o'clock. So thank you for your concern, Dr.
I'm sorry. I think I have the right.
Yes. So I'm okay. So really interesting presentation from you, Professor Klaus. I hope I'm saying your name correctly.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So my question is, you talk about radical. Now for radical, collaboration is required, and for collaboration, we need to have an open mind. So if you can elaborate on how the human and technology relationship is changing, and as the other professor said very rightly so, that there are thousands, if not millions of people who are already have been learning virtually all the time. So how does the human technology relationship work, and what is the role of the human behavior? Like I just said, openness, like you have to be open and you have to have the trust. You have to build the trust even more so that you can collaborate very effectively. That's one piece. And then if you can talk about a little about how the relationship between the industry, the corporate world, and the higher education can benefit, because I come from the corporate world, and there's many things that have been happening, which are tools and applications that has really impacted this disruption. So if you can share your experiences or your point of view on the human technology perspective, as well as how we can build trust and openness so that collaboration can happen?
I am, just to start with, I myself have worked 25 years in industry, and I have worked in global contexts for European and US corporations, and I know very well the situation with companies. I know that many corporations have even created their higher education institutions sorry, for getting better students, more fit for their purpose. Let me take the technology aspect. We should always consider and hopefully be in a position to control technology as facilitator and not replacement. We cannot rely on technology and think, yeah, we feed the technology and the technology does the job for us. It is the other way around. We must control the technology and we must lead the technological development for that students find it interesting. To us, fact is that the dropout rates in the virtual or online distance learning, however you may want to call it, rates are much higher. And this is one point where we say this is not necessarily a problem of the student. It is more or less a problem of how we deliver. It is not engaging enough. I have learned much about complaints where students say, yes, that is fine. We have this distance learning university. The content is nice. The content is reliably delivered. But when we want to speak to some other students, and this social bonding and this social component, which is so much of importance for our human beings, when we go to the chat room, it's empty. There is nowhere anybody around we can talk to, and it is unreliable. It is not worth doing so. And this is leading, in our opinion, to much frustration. You are today, most times in a world, you get your content, you study your content, you prove that you have studied it, and then if it is successful, you get your degree. What we want to change is, and to replace a little bit this form of context, is that yes, it will be this way, but in a more group-oriented and more attractive way in which technology helps us to deliver the content in a way these post-digital natives, I want to call them, are delivering. And when we come to industry, we ourselves are having many industry-related projects. Our university is a leading organization in the development of new energies. Their research is rather well known, and you find it in many appliances of big sorts, power plants and so on. There is the same. We are working closely with the industry, and we are developing content and we are developing studies in collaboration with the industry, for that we get graduates who are really meeting their expectations. And it is about inviting them to provide us with this is the plan in the moment, provide us with material which we can use for augmented and perhaps even virtual reality in the working context.
Okay, next is Professor Dr. Amir Jamil from University of Agriculture, Faisalabad, Pakistan. Dr. Amir. Dr. Amir, are you there? Dr. Amir? Okay, if Dr. Amir is not around, how about Ammar Jafri Saab? Sir, what do you think about her?
Yeah, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, we can hear you, sir.
I think it's a wonderful idea of transnational knowledge, because, you know, under the new environment of learning, our students need to learn from different countries, from different cultures, from different organizations. I think you'll recall when I discussed about our Point University Plus, it's the same thing, that in which these university students are exposed to the international events and international exposures so that they can learn while they are doing their degree. You know, the normal traditional university education right now is that they learn only in their classrooms. Hardly in the end they are given an opportunity to go and talk to. I think it's a wonderful idea of transnational education and linking our university students with the development projects of, let's say, SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, in which they actually do some projects in health, education, climate change, and whatever the challenges are. Right now, we have challenges are different, and our education system is different. So I think there's a great need for bridging the challenges with the education, and only way left right now is using the digital platforms, the knowledge platforms, and linking our university students with the community problems. For example, our agriculture is facing a very serious problem. So when we link our students with agriculture, they should physically go to the field and do something physically. So I think this is the only way left to educate our. And thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you very
much. What you just said recalls a very interesting encounter I had. I was working for a different university and had to chair the viva or defense of master's thesis in Vietnam. And before I went to Vietnam, the person having done this job before told me, oh, when you go to Vietnam, that's all so simple and don't expect anything, yeah? Okay, I went to Vietnam and I never listened to such comments because I want to make my own mind up. And I was absolutely amazed about the knowledge, about the high level which these professors from Vietnam, it was Thanh Nguyen University in the north of the country, have presented. It was amazing. And when we speak about this situation, if you perhaps remember what I said, as in our brick and mortar thinking and regulations as they are, you have to have 20 or 30 or 50 full-time professors which have to be in your portfolio, if you like. When I go a little bit further into this hopefully new world, then I can say, why do I need these people? What I need is that they deliver the content. They must not be around and present from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock and from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock. They can deliver us highly interesting, highly valuable content which we can place online. I can use the best knowledge which I find in Vietnam, which I find in Pakistan, which I may find in Tanzania, African colleagues which I have. Awesome what they are having in mind, awesome what they can do. It is not that our wisdom in Europe or United States, Australia is the only one. No, not at all. In this very different contextual structure where we can use technology, we can collect the best knowledge or the one which we consider as the best for this new delivery form and put it online without that it is necessary that a visiting professor travels from Pakistan to Zurich.
Thank you. Thank you.
We would like to have, if there are students, I would love to receive a question from some Pakistani student to the prof. So, I mean, anybody? Okay, I see a lot of people. Okay, Prof, you are in trouble. So, I mean, everybody want to ask question. Let's start from Dr. Ahsan Javed. Dr. Ahsan Javed?
Ji, Assalamu alaikum. This is Dr. Ahsan Javed. I'm from University of South Asia, Lahore, Pakistan. Thank you very much for giving me this time. Professor, there are two questions. One is you talked about the examination during online system, because we just went through this online examination, and apparently we were unable to control the effect that we can produce through proctored physical examination. We were unable to control these factors, although we kept on coming with different situations, but apparently we need to change the concept of examination for online system. The conventional system will not work, and we will have to involve the students in regular activities, and we have to judge these students throughout the semester through these productive activities rather than engaging them in the examination at the end of semester. So what's your point on this? Thank you.
I'm just trying to find it for you. We have found an online examination service software, which even the University of Cambridge is presently using, or Oxford is presently using, which offers a secure way of examination and of starting. Even, let me say, the easy way is coursework. If you have an essay or a report, that is easily done. The problem is always with the examinations. What you have is, of course, many attempts wherever people are of academic misconduct. Somebody else writes it for you, and somebody else does this, and somebody else does that. And we are in the moment considering this, the use of this software, but I must say it is in the moment too early to say something whether it is really as good as it is said to be. I have tried to find the link for this in the moment, but I cannot identify it in the speed which we would need it in my files. But definitely here we must make find ways where we can be very secure to conduct reliable and valid online examinations. What our belief is, if the banking industry and other highly security dependent industries have found ways to make their processes as secure as they are today, there's always something missing, then we should be able to do something with our examinations as well.
Sir,
we have two questions.
Just a little more. Sir, you are referring to a paid examination system, but my question was, why not there are some universities involved where there is no examination. The student is judged throughout the coursework. So why not shift to that system and train the teachers and the faculty on these bases so that they develop content through which the student is tested throughout the semester?
That is definitely a possibility. Another possibility is as well global collaboration. That, for example, we consider that students who we have in different parts of the world can visit a university close to them and write their examination under the surveillance of this university, and we have the security and certainty, all of us, wherever we are, to get these coursework situations done in a way. And let me say as well, we pay a service fee for this service, and that is another opportunity. But to be very honest, in this moment where we are standing with our research, it is more about seeing the way on developing the content. And when we know how the content is and how the content can be delivered, then we may be more able to consider what needs to be done in terms of assessments. So we are still not yet in a position to really say something about the assessments, except our assumptions, how it might be.
Prof, we have two questions, if you kindly. Okay, Ubaid Zakaria and then Amir Abbas. So first Ubaid Zakaria is in line. Please, Ubaid sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ashraf. And it was a wonderful lecture by Dr. Klaus. I think it was a very thorough thing. But I have a point of difference with you in its context of execution is one. And that is where you suggested the radical change You know, change is always has to be a permanent thing. It has to be progressive. So it cannot be radical. Yes, radical in a long term, if you are referring to that context, yes, it is okay, but it has to be progressive. We cannot in education system or academic system discard old people like the one you had given an example of in the corporate sector. So they have to be actually phased out and with an induction of a fresh mind. So therefore, the radical change will be a long-term barrier, but it has to be a progressive. One is this thing. If you can answer this, then I will go to my second question.
The situation is, perhaps I was not really clear enough with what I explained and said. I agree with you. You cannot simply kick out everybody and say, take the axe, that's it. Goodbye, forget about everything which you have known. No, that is not the way. This is why we will have two universities. We will have the old one, and I do not mean old in form of old-fashioned. We will have the one which is as it is, and we will have the second one. I have outsourced everything to a new place, which will even be in a different country. The old one will remain in Switzerland as it was, but the new one will be in a different country where we have the better regulatory framework available for this online situation, and where we only will have those who want to join us and accompany us on this new journey, and will then take on those who are missing or the knowledge which we need in addition to complete and complement what we need. So you have this phased out situation. Let me say, we will run this place as we have it established in Switzerland as long as it is ever possible, so that everybody can continue this way. But the radical side, and there we do not place any restrictions or boundaries, it is experimental, if you like, will be separate, will be completely on its own shoe or on its own way and in its very own responsibility. And we will say what will happen, how it will happen, and if it will happen as it is expected today.
Right, thank you. That's, I mean, I think we are in unison. The only thing was a little misunderstanding on my side, and maybe your clarification has done that job. Now, the second question is more important. This is in continuation with the assessment part. Here I again agree with you 100% that innovative radical changes are required. Assessment, what we have done is, I would like to share my experience of my university, because I'm the Vice Chancellor. I'm the Vice Chancellor of one of the universities. We actually had customized the Moodle learning management system, and you know that it has a very, very comprehensive assessment system. The only thing was that we wanted it to be 100% cheating-free thing. And you know, if you just believe in honor code, that would not do the job. So we had instituted about 21 anti-cheating bias, which had to be the latest technologies, right? Where you could actually disable some of your keys so that nobody can copy it, nobody can copy and paste it. While he is doing the exam, he cannot go on to any other URL, or for that matter, any other site from where he can copy. Similarly, within the examination system itself, we had instituted like things like every student getting a separate paper. Within the paper, the questions were shuffled. Within the question, the choices were shuffled. So that sort of a thing. Similarly, to make it more comprehensive, what we did was we applied all rules of Bloom's taxonomy on the paper itself. We divided the paper in a proper proportion, like 30 or 40% went to MCQs and multiple choice questions. The second part went into the second part, which is the higher order thinking level, which is a formative level, where we gave them 4 subjective questions, short questions, which were checked through the AI. And obviously that reduced the load on the faculty. And the last one was actually the psychomotor part. And that was a long question, which was basically a very, very research oriented. Now, this completed the whole concept of what we usually do in a physical form also. But the students were very happy. As you said, they have to be satisfied. Why they were happy? On 3 occasions. One, that they felt very confident that if they were good in the class, they would do better. One. Second was that the transparency of the paper itself. They didn't know the paper, even if they were liked by some faculty members or not. One was that. Secondly, the result was given to them after about 1 hour of taking the exam, which was a tremendous thing, which used to take a week or maybe so to declare it. Third one was that they could see their answers and everything, a record which was directly in front of them. Again, a transparency issue. So efficiency, transparency, actually this brought them into a confidence level with the technology as well as the faith in the university. So actually, I would cut it short. That actually, this has started giving them so much of confidence that in the final term, which we did this time, we just finished about 4 days ago, the result is already on its way and is going to be announced tomorrow, just in 5-6 days, which we used to take a month. And above all, 98% students attended the assessment, which is a huge, tremendous attempt. With your presence here, I can also offer this particular system, and I want to share this system with anybody. And this is the collaborative effort we can offer, because you said teamwork is the answer in radical change. So let's follow the radical change, and we offer this collaboration. Anybody who wants this system to be evaluated, but for that matter, improved and collaborate.
I'm absolutely fantastic. That's I learned very much in this your explanation, and I can tell you that is amazing, and I'm really interested in this form.
That's great. That's great, because you know, as we collaborate, things improve.
Yeah.
And thank you very much. It was wonderful listening to you, and we'll be in contact.
Definitely. I'm really I learned a lot now.
Thank you.
Okay, I think this will be the last question. Amir Abbas.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me, please?
Yes,
yeah, we can hear you very well, Amir sir. Thank you.
Yes.
Please.
Sir, thank you very much. I'm Amir Abbas. I'm Director Quality Enhancement Cell, University of South Asia, Lahore. First of all, thank you very much for this thought-provoking discussion. My question is that we are talking about virtual university concept in this new normal. So this will be basically the threat for the developing country universities if they are not prepared. So how we can ensure that these private universities and public sector universities in this world of COVID-19, after COVID-19 pandemic, would be able to survive? How we can ensure the element of quality, because virtual platforms can only make impact if students have right mindset about learning. If their mindset is not right for learning, these virtual platforms, these blended learning models will not make any impact. And secondly, this is also the question of survival for universities in developing countries, because if you can afford, you will go for universities in developed worlds for online education. And the last thing that is very important, how we can ensure quality in all we do, quality of education, quality of graduates, if blended learning or virtual university concept will be the ultimate reality of this world. Thank you.
There are a couple of aspects which are highly important, which you just mentioned. The problematic and the danger goes far more or far deeper than you can perhaps or have already perhaps realized. We now have a similar situation as many other industries have. You have platforms, for example, one is Coursera.org. They are offering as a mediator, probably against the commission, a platform where you have, for example, let's take it simple, an MBA. You are interested to study an MBA. So you go to Coursera.org, and then you have Yale, Princeton, Oxford, INSEAD, and whatever, just saying examples. You can click on these and apply directly with any of these. So for a news or for a student nowadays, it's a question of money. If I have enough money to invest 50, 70,000, I can have a complete range of best reputed universities across the world. Click on it, and the old online sentence, the next competitor is just a click away, now applies to us as well. It is not anymore that I have to consider, can I afford to live in the United Kingdom, or can I only afford to live in Poland or in Hungary when I want a Western degree? It is about click, click, click. And that is a danger to all universities which are not in the top tier. And let me say, being in the top tier is not necessarily a question of quality alone. That is the risk, that is the new danger which we have, because it is just sitting there and selecting. The other thing is, how can we perhaps take this challenge seriously and still survive? And I think, as I said about my example for Vietnam, I am not of the opinion that in other countries there is bad quality or little or less knowledge. It isn't. There is such high level of knowledge all around the world. And why can we, the not first tier universities, and our university is good, it is very good in research, but it is not one of the big or very famous or something universities. Why can we not have a similar situation where we collaborate, where we share, and where we, let me say, build a type of a hub university? That is, we can build such a platform as well, and we can offer, for example, our university is in integral medicine, it is in technology, it is in economics and a little bit of law. All the rest, I have psychology courses in our portfolio, but we cannot deliver them. They are delivered by our partner institute in Athens, in Greece. Why is it not possible to build a portfolio of courses and students are able to select here and there, and we share the situation about a common platform, about a common payment system in which you can have, for example, from the University of Lahore and another one from the university in Singapore, and the third course is coming from us and the fourth coming from university in Australia. The problem, of course, is then we have to have a legal system which acknowledges these things generally. But in the end, we can agree on a degree awarding university, and it is regulated under these circumstances, because the point is the responsible lead university is the one awarding the degree, and how they manage to deliver the content is their autonomy in scientific work and research. That is possible. It is not easy. It needs preparation, it needs reflection, but we may counter this way what the big guys are doing. And there's still the problem that not everybody is able to pay $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 for a degree.
Okay, Prof. I think what a beautiful presentation and the discussion. So we will conclude this beautiful lecture and followed by a great discussion with 1 into multiplied by infinity, I think, claps. And I am very thankful to all my colleagues, Vice Chancellor, professors, students, and everybody who were with us, to discuss about how the world will be, during COVID-19 or post-COVID-19 era. So how different countries are working on this one. And of course, Professor Klaus Oestreicher, if I can say the name right, I am getting better. Okay. So he basically is one of the leading expert. And by the way, he is our major founding member of Global Academic Leader Academy in all Europe side and Swiss and all around, because we are few founding. And we invite all the Vice Chancellor's colleague also to be part of our this initiative, that Global Academic Leader Academy, that is sharing best practices. We sit together like this one and we share what is good in the world that we can share with each other. Thank you all. You all have a great afternoon and be safe from COVID-19. Always keep wearing masks, wash hands. That is the best way to stay safe. Our prayers are for all of you.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed to have this opportunity, and let me say I would really appreciate to remain in touch and in contact, and I can only invite everybody that we are collaborating, because it is in all our interests to provide the real new world together, because it is just reading this morning the new slogan of the German EU Commission presidency, which says one word.
One word. Rightly said. Yeah.
Together. And we must be together, and we are one planet. Wherever we are, it is our responsibility to do what is needed. And I hope everybody is welcome to contact me. I'm just trying to type my email address into this, but somehow it doesn't work this little way. I will give my email address to you, Professor Mukhtar, and then anybody who is interested can get in touch with us. And we are very, very happy to make this research project where we find together these solutions. And what we are doing in this moment is nothing else than trying to find the way. We have not found it.
Thanks, Professor. We will see you again also. We will bring you back to discuss more about the collaborative efforts and sharing with each other. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You as
made
well.
Our day.
I wish you a very pleasant evening and rest of the day.
Thank you. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.